The morning mist draped over the jungle floor like a guarded whisper. Somewhere in that stillness, a faint sound pierced the air. High, fragile, barely audible. In the wild, mothers don't leave their young without cause. Yet this small voice had been crying for hours, each call weaker, as if the jungle itself was slowly erasing its existence. Lila Chun had wandered these trails for 29 years, first as a girl with her grandmother, now as a woman guiding her own children through the tangled language of vines and dawn's glow. She could tell a parrot's squawk from something far more urgent. This was urgent. Following the sound deeper into the thicket, stepping over mossy roots slick with dew, she moved toward a truth she wasn't fully ready to face. Beneath a towering banyan tree, she found it, a tiny, striped bundle of fur, no larger than her hand, pressed against the roots. The tiger cub's eyes were barely open, its orange and black coat still soft with the newness of life. Every few moments, it lifted its head and let out a faint, mournful mew, carrying the weight of abandonment. Lila knelt, scanning for signs of the mother, paw prints, trampled ferns, the musky scent of an adult tiger. Nothing. The earth around the cub was cool, marked only by Lila's own footprints. "Hey, little one," she murmured, keeping her distance. Years of living near wildlife had taught her patience. Sometimes mothers leave briefly to hunt or divert danger. What looks like abandonment can be protection. But as an hour passed and the cub's cries faded, Lila felt a familiar heaviness settle in her chest, a choice that would shift everything. She thought of her husband, Dev, likely preparing lunch for their kids back at the house. She thought of their border collie, Coda, who chased every rustling leaf with boundless joy. Their home had always been a haven for strays, a wounded owl, a lost puppy, even a fawn once. But this was different. This wasn't a temporary fix. The cub tried to stand, wobbled, and collapsed. Its breathing was quick, shallow, signaling surrender. Lila knew it wouldn't survive another night alone. The jungle had its own merciless rules, and this cub was losing. She called Dev. "Prepare the spare room," she said softly, eyes fixed on the cub. "Warm some kitten formula. We've got a guest." Dev's voice carried warmth and playful exasperation. "What did you find this time?" "Something that needs us," Lila replied. "Something that's going to teach us more than we expected." When Lila gently lifted the cub, its weight barely noticeable, it didn't resist. It pressed against her chest, seeking warmth, the steady pulse of a heartbeat promising it wasn't alone. As she walked back through the jungle, Lila felt this rescue was mutual. Their home emerged through the trees, soft light glowing from the windows, where her family likely wondered what adventure she'd stumbled into now. They didn't yet know they were about to learn something profound about love, family, and bonds forged not by blood or species, but by showing up when someone needs you most. The jungle kept its secrets about mothers and cubs, but ahead lay warmth, milk on the stove, and hands ready to care for something small and lost. A new story was beginning, one that would redefine what family could mean. The spare room became a blend of nursery and wildlife sanctuary. Dev lined the floor with towels, set up a heater, and filled the box with blankets, still carrying the scent of their kids' bedtime stories. When Lila walked in, cradling the tiger cub in her jacket, their daughter, Arya, froze mid-sip of juice, her glass hovering. "Mom," she whispered, "is that a tiger?" Their son, Rohan, 12 and usually too cool for excitement, abandoned his video game and edged closer. Coda approached cautiously, tail low, sensing something delicate. The cub nestled against Lila, opened its eyes slightly, catching the kitchen light in tiny amber glints. The first feeding tested Dev's patience. The cub, too weak to lift its head, resisted the warmed kitten formula. Dev sat on the floor, the cub in a towel on his lap, coaxing drops from an eyedropper. "Come on, buddy," he said, echoing the tone he'd used to encourage Arya's first steps or Rohan's first bike ride. "We'll figure this out." It took 52 minutes for the cub to swallow its first drop. Rohan timed it, perched on a stool, filming like the wildlife biologist he dreamed of becoming. When the cub finally drank, the quiet cheers in the room felt like a small miracle. By the second night, the cub refused to sleep alone. Each time they left it in its box, soft, questioning cries began. Arya spoke up. "Maybe he needs us close," she said, reaching for the cub. "Maybe we're his family now." That night, the cub slept curled against Arya, its faint purrs blending with her breathing. Lila and Dev watched from the doorway, marveling at their daughter's gentle instincts. By day 4, the cub found its legs, trailing Dev through the house, its oversized paws tapping the tiles. When Dev paused to make a bottle, the cub sat at his feet, gazing up with patient certainty. The breakthrough came in the second week. Lila was on a work call, the cub napping in a sunbeam by her desk, when it stirred, stretched, and toddled over to nuzzle her ankle. A small act of trust that felt like a promise. The jungle had let this cub go, but in this home, a new family was forming, built on quiet moments and unwavering care. Lila nodded around the table, as if to say, "Are we eating together or what?" "I think," Dev said smiling, "he's decided we're his pack." The adjustment period brought challenges no parenting guide could anticipate. As the tiger cub grew stronger, his instincts kicked in, climbing everything from curtains to bookshelves, exploring every nook with the focus of a detective. Their furniture bore tiny claw marks, and more than once they found him atop the fridge, having scaled the cabinets with a grace born for treetops. But with each small chaos came surprises. The cub, whom Arya named Sable, though he answered to little guy or sweetie just as readily, showed uncanny intelligence. Noticing his climbing stressed his humans, he began limiting himself to a designated armchair or the low shelves, sparing the rest. When play with Coda got too rough, Sable learned to read the dog's cues, backing off when Coda needed space, pouncing more gently when the collie was playful. Neighbors noticed changes at the Chan household. Mr. Rao, next door, mentioned odd shadows in their windows. The delivery driver asked Lila if they'd gotten a new cat, noting its movements seemed different. Each interaction reminded them their secret wouldn't stay hidden forever. Sable was growing into something the outside world might not understand. Inside, though, something extraordinary unfolded. Sable wasn't just a rescue anymore, he was family, with his own quirks, preferences, and place in their rhythm. He had favorite napping spots, the sunny windowsill, preferred Lila for morning feedings and Dev for evening treats, and an eerie knack for sensing when someone needed comfort, curling up beside them in quiet moments. By his 3rd month, Sable had opinions. He claimed the leather couch by the window for bird watching, tail flicking at sparrows oblivious to the tiny predator in pajamas. The bedroom situation was almost comical. Sable insisted on sleeping between Lila and Dev, sprawled like a furry king. When they tried a fancy pet bed, he'd sit beside it, stare with deep disappointment, and mew at the bedroom door until carried back to the bed. "He's got us trained," Dev chuckled, watching Lila shift to accommodate their 20-pound roommate. "I think with the pets now." Mornings became a dance around Sable's routine. He woke first, patrolling the house, checking Coda's bowl, stealing a kibble or two, which Coda tolerated, then staking out the living room for bird surveillance. Arya learned Sable's emotional depth one afternoon, finding him on her bed, surrounded by her scattered clothes, mewing dramatically. The moment she entered, his cries stopped, replaced by a rumbling purr. He'd missed her, gathering her scent for comfort. "Mom," Arya called. Sable threw a tantrum because I was gone. Sable's toddler-like emotions became clear. If the family watched TV without him, he'd plop in front of the screen, statue still, until invited onto the couch. During dinner, if ignored, he'd perform a theatrical stretch-and-roll routine, chirping until someone praised his cleverness. Sable and Coda became like brothers. Coda, initially wary, taught Sable boundaries. When Sable pounced too hard, Coda would lie flat, untouchable. Overexcited play earned a gentle nudge, never harsh, just clear. Remarkably, Sable mimicked Coda, sitting more like crouching, on command, coming when called at his own regal pace, and even trying to fetch, carrying a toy halfway before expecting a human to meet him. The neighborhood buzzed. Mrs. Gupta, hanging laundry, spotted Sable's striped coat in the backyard and gasped, drawing a small crowd. "Lila Chun," she called the next day, "what is that in your yard?" "That's Sable," Lila said, watching him bat at a garden hose. "He's family." The story of the abandoned cub, bottle feedings, and sleepless nights spread like wildfire. Reactions varied: fascination, worry, disbelief. The Patel kids begged for a play date with a tame tiger, while the Singhs kept their terrier indoors, fearing Sable might see it as prey. Sable's most remarkable trait shone in quiet moments. He sensed distress with almost supernatural precision, appearing beside Arya during homework stress or curling up with Dev after a long day. His presence wasn't just comfort. It was a reminder that family could stretch beyond species, built on trust, and showing up when it mattered most. When Arya struggled with a tough chemistry assignment, Sable settled beside her at the dining table, his deep purr a soothing backdrop to her studies. When Dev returned drained from a grueling workday, Sable would leap onto his lap, his warmth like a living blanket easing the tension. The most striking moment came during Lila's bout with a debilitating flu that kept her in bed for days. Without prompting, Sable stationed himself beside her, still and silent, his presence a gentle comfort that didn't overwhelm her. He stayed for hours, only stepping away when Dev brought her water, then returning to his vigil. "He gets it," Lila whispered to Dev that night, her fingers tracing Sable's soft stripes as he stayed close. "He knows when we need him." These moments reshaped the Chen family's perspective. Sable wasn't just a wild animal adapting to their home. He'd chosen to love them, showing an emotional depth that made him family, not a pet. Every purr, every gentle nudge, every time he curled up beside them felt like a gift, proof that love could bridge the gap between jungle and home, tiger and human. 6 months after Lila found a frail cub in the jungle, she stood in the kitchen, watching an improbable breakfast scene. Sable sat in a high chair. Yes, they'd bought one after he kept climbing to join them at the table, nibbling chicken bits, while Arya read him snippets from her biology textbook. The tiger cub listened with rapt attention, occasionally chirping as if commenting on ecosystems. "I thought we saved him," Dev said softly, joining Lila by the tea kettle. "Now I think he saved us." The transformation wasn't just Sable's. The Chens discovered new depths of patience, creativity, and love. They learned to read his ear twitches and tail flicks, distinguishing his "I'm hungry" mew from his "pay attention" trill. Their lives revolved around a creature needing both domestic structure and space for his wild spirit. Dev's home office became a balance of both worlds. Sable claimed the windowsill as his throne, overseeing Dev's video calls with a CEO's gravitas. Clients grew used to soft chirps in the background, some even charmed by stories of Dev's assistant. The bookshelf bore claw marks, but Dev secured his files and found Sable's purring weight across his shoulders oddly calming for work. Arya's bond with Sable became sisterly, as if he were an exotic younger sibling. She taught him to come when called, impressing even skeptical neighbors. In return, he taught her the weight of caring for a life wholly dependent on her. Her friends came to see the tame tiger, but stayed for the calm, nurturing aura Arya developed through her responsibility. Rohan, initially drawn by the cool factor of a tiger cub, found deeper connection in quiet moments. Studying with Sable's purr beside him sharpened his focus. During a rough patch with school friends, Sable sensed his mood, curling up in his room nightly until the drama passed. The community gradually accepted their unusual neighbor. Mr. Rao moved from wary glances to offering homemade treats Sable politely sniffed, but ignored. The delivery driver, once hesitant, began carrying Sable's favorite snacks, smiling at his face in the window. The local vet, Dr. Singh, was captivated, calling Sable a living study in blending wild and domestic. "He's both," she said at his checkup. "Wild enough for instincts, domestic enough for family. It's extraordinary." Seasons revealed Sable's natural rhythms. Spring sparked playful energy, with backyard adventures chasing butterflies. Summer meant lazy mornings on his favorite perch, tracking squirrels with puzzle-solving intensity. Fall thickened his coat, as if he sensed a jungle winter, though he sought cozy spots indoors. Winter tested their setup. Sable grew clingy, craving closeness as days shortened. Heating bills rose to keep him comfortable, but those months brought cherished memories. Sable's awe at snow, pouncing as if the world had become a giant toy. Questions about the future lingered. Sable was growing into a powerful tiger, his instincts flaring when a bird landed too. Close, pupils sharpening with predatory focus. Yet he never turned that instinct on his family, his love overriding his nature. Legal concerns were eased through Dr. Singh's wildlife contacts, who agreed Sable's bond and inability to hunt made their home his best option. Beyond practicalities, the Chens proved love could transcend species. That family was about choice, not biology. On quiet evenings, with Sable sprawled between Lila and Dev on the couch, his purr a steady hum as Arya read and Rohan sketched, they marveled at their complete circle. The cub who should have died in the jungle had become their center, bringing laughter, wonder, and a joy born of the unexpected. He lost his first family, Lila mused, watching Sable gently groom Arya's hair like a devoted sibling. But he found something else. Maybe love is the ultimate survival instinct. To the neighbors, the Chen house wasn't just a home with an exotic pet. It was a family where everyone belonged. And if that family included a striped cub who slept on their bed, loved chicken, and thought he was part dog, it only showed that the best families love each member exactly as they are.